And for more on this story, I'm joined in the studio by our International Affairs editor, Philip Turle. The overwhelming question, of course, Philip, is where can these civilians actually go to?
And the answer to that is we don't know because there is really nowhere. For first thing is that they can't go into Egypt because Egypt won't open the border. I'll come back to that in a minute. They're stuck in Rafah, down in the southern tip of the Gaza Strip, which is not that far from the Rafah crossing, but Rafah is where the offensive is planned that Israel is going to undertake at some point. We don't know when that's going to be, and that's why this pressure is growing and growing on Israel not to start that offensive, principally because there are about 1.4 million Palestinians who are living in Gaza, who've moved to Rafah since the start of the troubles on the 7th of October, and they really don't have anywhere else to go. Benjamin Netanyahu, in an interview on American television, has said, well, there's plenty of room further north in Gaza for them. We're not going to be cavalier about all this. We want civilians out of harm's way, just like Hamas wants them in harm's way. But there are several questions that remain without answers. The first one is, how are they going to get there? Because the transport routes are almost destroyed. The roads are in bad condition. Many people don't have any transport at all. Second point is, when they get there, what are they going to do? Because a lot of the buildings, most of the buildings have been destroyed. They can't go home to northern Gaza because practically all their houses have been destroyed by the Israeli offensive. And on top of that, the areas are dangerous because there are mines, there are unexploded bombs, and people don't want to go into those areas in case they get blown up. So all of these questions remain without answer. And that's why we've seen this pressure growing on in the United States, from the United States rather, to the Israelis, saying, okay, we need a break in this, at least 2 weeks, so that you have to come up with some proper plan to evacuate all these poor people from Rafah, who were told to go there because that was a safe zone, and now they're being told, well, it's no longer a safe zone, you're going to have to go somewhere else. So in other words, you can't really keep pushing people about like herds of cattle in the Gaza Strip. They have rights and they have demands, and there is growing pressure from the United States, from Britain, from Saudi Arabia for a ceasefire, at least for 2 weeks, which now appears to be a little bit back on the table, but it still doesn't answer the fact where these people are going to go and what kind of safe situation are they going to be in.
So do we know what sort of form the ground invasion is going to take, and what impact is it going to have on Israel's relationship with its neighbour Egypt?
Okay, I think the information coming out appears to be that it's not imminent. We don't know, this is highly unclear because we don't know what the Israelis are planning, but the information coming out appears to be it's not going to happen anytime soon because we need to sort out the problem about where people are going to go. And imagine that there would be a huge backlash against Israel if tens of thousands of people were killed in this ground offensive, which is going to be a pretty difficult and hard ground offensive when it does begin to take place in Rafah. What Israel is saying is there are 18 out of the 24 battalions of Hamas that we have destroyed. We need to get to the others there in the Rafah area. That's why we're going in there. We won't do anything but destroy Hamas. We're not going to listen to any other proposals at the moment. That remains to be seen whether they're actually going to do that. Now, there is another problem also, and that is the relationship with Egypt, because at the southern tip of the Gaza Strip, you have what is called the Philadelphia Corridor, which was created during the Camp David Accords back in 1978, controlled on one side by the Palestinians, controlled on the other side by Egypt. Now, what Israel is saying is they want to go as far as the corridor to take control of it, because they say that weapons and ammunition are still being smuggled into the Gaza Strip to be used by Hamas, and they don't want that to continue. That is something that Egypt has said is not happening. And Egypt has said, if you do that, are going to be breaking the Camp David Accords, and that would seriously undermine relations between Egypt and Israel. Remember, Egypt and Israel signed a peace agreement back then, which Begin and Sadat both got the Nobel Peace Prize. So that is also putting into jeopardy the eventuality that maybe if Israel does go as far as trying to take control of that corridor, then that is going to seriously undermine regional stability. So all of these different elements coming together at the moment are, I think, pushing the United States to become a little bit more aggressive towards Israel. Remember, Joe Biden didn't even call for a ceasefire at the beginning of all of this. Now he is doing that. He's beginning to think that there is no longer any way that he can begin to work out a solution with Benjamin Netanyahu. That's why we're seeing an upping of the ante, due to increasing pressure, I think, also within the United States.